support it.
Honourable member for Edmonton Centre.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. As I had mentioned in my speech, there's nothing in here that recognizes the importance of this industry that has helped Canada for years and has allowed us to grow our social programs, grow our infrastructure in this country. And I'm incredibly disappointed that there is no recognition of the energy sector in this budget.
And with that, we'll go to statements by members, and we're going to begin with the Honourable Member for Don Valley East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Smiley Volunteer Corps, through the civic program, have been in the forefront of providing services to those facing isolation during the pandemic. They launched Access that provides virtual programming, tech support, and non-emergency medical help to all in need. Many constituents in my riding and across Canada have benefited from these services. The team recently joined hands with the Michael Garron Hospital to conduct a mass vaccination clinic in my riding where thousands accessed this service. As well, the Smiley Civic, in collaboration with the Humber River Hospital, has worked to recruit volunteers for the mass vaccination initiative at the Downswick Park Arena. I thank this team of dedicated volunteers for the service they provide and follow the motto, work, no words. They are truly an inspiration to all. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for York Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the pandemic has taken an enormous toll on the most vulnerable, but we've also seen so many volunteers step up and show us the very best of our community. I want to highlight the efforts of York Centre constituent Emily Gamble. Since the pandemic began, she's reached out and kept in touch with Holocaust survivors, arranged support for first responders and frontline healthcare workers, and organized donations of winter clothing to vulnerable Canadians in Nunavut with the support of the Ukatuq Society in Iqaluit. Like so many volunteers, it's not just about helping others, but also key to supporting her own mental health. Mr. Speaker, I want to close with Emily's own words about her motivation. In Canada, we may have different religions, different religious, ethnic, and cultural roots, or we may look different from one another. But despite it all, we have one powerful commonality. We are all Canadians, and we live in this beautiful country that we are lucky to call home.
The Honourable Member for Caribou, Prince George.
I rise today to highlight an international disaster response organization made up of 70,000 incredible volunteers, veterans, first responders, medical professionals, and kick-ass civilians who continue to make an impact here at home and across the globe. With the driving force of service above self, Team Rubicon was founded by 2 U.S. Marines in 2010. 6 years later, Team Rubicon Canada got their start during the 2016 Fort McMurray wildfires. In 10 years, Team Rubicon is deployed to 6 earthquakes, 132 floods, 56 hurricanes, 47 severe weather events, 96 tornadoes, 79 wildfires, and on the COVID front line at over 325 vaccination sites, helping deliver over 1.3 million vaccinations. Team Rubicon members from Prince George have deployed all across Canada and the United States, the Bahamas, and most recently in Honduras. Mr. Speaker, I'm exceptionally proud to be a gray shirt. I encourage everyone to reach out to your local organizers and see how you can support Team Rubicon, their mission, and maybe even become a gray shirt yourself.
The Honourable Member for Scarborough North.
Mr. Speaker, since the COVID-19 pandemic began, Canadians of Asian descent have fallen victim to incessant hate and xenophobia. A recent Chinese-Canadian National Council report says that from March 10, 2020 to February 28, 2021, there were 1,150 reported attacks, with both adolescents and seniors more likely to be targeted. 11% of incidents involved violent physical assault or some form of unwanted contact, while 10% included being coughed or spat on. This is repugnant and reprehensible. Last month at Toronto City Hall, I joined thousands of Canadians standing in solidarity against anti-Asian racism. Together, we condemned hate and made a concerted call for action. Whether it is against Asian, Black, or Indigenous communities, racism has no home here in Canada. En tant que citoyenne canadienne,
as Canadian citizens, we need to continue to create to create inclusive environments for racialized minorities and religious minorities, as well as new immigrants. Canada has made too much progress to backpedal now. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, the budget does not meet the government's commitments to the agricultural community. When it comes to food sovereignty, at some point you have to stop talking and start taking action. If we want to ensure the vitality of our agricultural sector, we need people to continue the work. In 2019, the Liberal Party promised to modernize the tax system in order to encourage intergenerational transfer of businesses and farms, but there's nothing for that in the budget. And then we need to keep these businesses going. They need foreign workers. Despite the fact that we're in the middle of a crisis with Switch Health, all Ottawa is offering in the budget is more inspections. How will that help? We also need to compensate all supply-managed operations for CUSMA. It was in the fall economic statement, but it disappeared from the budget. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois will ensure that the government keeps its promises to the agricultural community.
The Honourable Member for Canada Carleton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you the success that Canada Carleton has achieved with the Canada Summer Jobs Program. I'm pleased to announce $2.1 million in funding was approved, creating 618 jobs at 123 organizations, charities, and businesses. From technology to organic farming to summer camps, it's this diversity that makes Canada Carleton such an amazing place to live and to do business. Thank you to everyone, to businesses and organizations who have showed incredible determination, commitment, and creativity when presented with the challenges of COVID-19. They have supported and served their community, and the people of Canada Carleton have been there to support them in return. Shopping local is a win-win. Together, we can all succeed in spite of these challenging times. Your leadership and teamwork matters greatly. Thank you all.
The Honourable Member for Tobique-Mactaquac.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For over a year now, Canadians have been doing everything they can to stay safe, to keep Canada moving and working. My riding of Tobique-Mactaquac takes in a majority of the New Brunswick-U.S. border. COVID restrictions have been particularly hard on our border communities across the country. Many Canadians are required to cross regularly for essential work and services. Some work in healthcare on the other side of the border. Others truck and haul our goods. Others work in our agriculture and food supply chains, while others must cross for medical and other essential appointments. For some, this means crossing the international border multiple times a day. Everyone wants to be safe and take the necessary precautions, but when our essential workers are crossing multiple times a day, the process for crossing should be as simple and straightforward as possible. Mr. Speaker, instead of insisting that these essential workers fill out ArriveCAN submissions multiple times a day in places that often have poor to no cell coverage, the government should be doing everything they can to streamline the process and ensure our essential workers are supported with a process that makes sense and eliminates redundancies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'Honorable Député d'Or.
The Honourable Member for Orleans. Mr. Speaker.
The federal government announced a $1.5 million investment to Veterans House as part of their efforts to tackle houselessness and provide crucial support for our veterans in need. Operated by the Multi-Faith Housing Initiative, Veterans House opened this past February and offers veterans affordable housing as well as access to mental health and addiction services. This new investment will help construct 40 homes for veterans who are houseless or at risk of houselessness, and it builds on the federal government's $6.5 million investment made in 2019. The Multi-Faith Housing Initiative has been working since 2001 to supply safe, continuous, and inclusive affordable housing in Ottawa. I would like to thank Executive Director Susan Lee and her team at MHI for their outstanding contribution to our community. And thank you to the member for Ottawa-Vanier for making the announcement. Merci.
The
Honourable Member for Sudbury.
Mr. Speaker, we are all aware of the situation unfolding at Laurentian University in Sudbury. What I want to focus on today are the students affected by this tragedy. Like most universities, exams at Laurentian started on April 12th, the same day as the job losses and program cuts were announced.
Hundreds of students will have to sit their exams knowing that their program won't even exist next year.
Hockey and swim teams were cut, casting student athletes adrift with nowhere to play and train or study. As the father of a university student athlete, I cannot imagine the pain of losing your team, teammates, academic program, your dream, Mr. Speaker, all at the same time.
I've spoken to the students about the devastating effects that these cuts have had. No one is immune.
Frustrated as I am about the enormous impact currently felt by Laurentian University students, I remain resolved to see the university emerge as strong as possible from this terrible situation. We owe it to our students who sacrificed so much to get this far in their studies. We owe it to them to search for a way forward so that they can complete their studies and launch their careers. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The honourable member for Carleton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Conscience rights are a fundamental freedom protected by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Sadly, this right is being severely undermined for medical professionals in relation to medical aid in dying. When euthanasia and MAID were first legalized in 2015, the government promised that no one would be coerced to take part in euthanasia against their will. Without the force of law behind it, this promise has proven to be completely empty. Physicians, as well as other medical professionals, are now constrained by law to offer MAID as a primary treatment option, even in cases where they don't believe it is in the best interest of their patient. Without conscience rights, patients will no longer have access to a second opinion for their end-of-life care. As a result, patient rights and well-being are being undermined. My private member's bill, the Protection of Freedom of Conscience Act, seeks to address this deterioration of rights.
The honourable member for Oakville North Burlington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This past March, Statistics Canada found that Canadians with Asian backgrounds have reported increased racial harassment during the pandemic. While systemic racism against Asian Canadians is certainly not new, it has increased exponentially during the pandemic. Earlier this month, I hosted Halton MPs and stakeholders for an anti-Asian racism roundtable with the Minister for Diversity and Youth and Inclusion to discuss the disturbing acts of discrimination and racism facing people of Asian descent in our communities and steps we can take to fight it. Halton's Asian Canadian community have been leaders during the pandemic, distributing PPE and sanitizer and adopting public health measures early on. We have a diverse and active Asian Canadian community in Halton, and we all have a responsibility to support those facing racism and stand united to ensure everyone in Canada is treated equitably. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Aides-Chemin-Lévis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With their big election promises, the Liberals are actually not treating seniors very well. They're offering them $500, but only if they're 75 or older. With record deficits and no budgetary targets, the debt ratio is going to explode to over 50%. So the Liberal credit card is certainly going to explode as well. After 2 years, we were expecting much better from the Liberals, especially given that there's a pandemic. Real measures to restart our economy responsibly and get people back to work are what's needed. But the Liberals are creating new programs with huge costs, leaving future generations in debt. And then they talk about sustainable development. Future generations need a conservative government to repair this damage while there's still time.
Member for Foothills.
The impact this pandemic has had on our mental health will far outlast this crisis. This is something we cannot ignore. I have held numerous virtual town halls in my riding with community leaders and business owners talking about mental health and the impact on our constituents. I want to thank Dr. Jody Carrington for her powerful and inspirational message, and Pamela Morgan with Headstrong for her focus on rural businesses and farm families. Hundreds of people attended these sessions and shared their heartfelt stories of stress, anxiety, depression, and in many cases, suicide. This cannot be the new normal. Canadians need hope this will end. But instead of a recovery plan, the Liberals' budget had no strategy how to permanently and safely end these lockdowns. They have failed miserably on accessing vaccines, meaning these quarantines will extend. Conservatives will be focused on securing jobs and our economy and the recovery of our financial and mental health of Canadians. Because as Dr. Carrington said, we're here walking each other home.
The honourable member for Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing.
Mr. Speaker, often we hear about the challenges Indigenous communities can face securing a safe and reliable source of drinking water. But for Whitefish River First Nation, water quality has been a source of pride in recent years. Now, that has been tempered with the passing of water treatment plant operator Mark Shawanda. Trained in the shadow of the Walkerton crisis, Mark took great pride in running the water plant by the book for over 2 decades. Proof of excellence came by way of multiple water quality awards that brought recognition to the community and to Mark as well. He shared his experience by mentoring others, ensuring Whitefish River First Nations water will remain of the highest quality for years to come. Known for his can-do attitude and one-liners like, "I'm no doctor, but I'll take a look," Mark was active in the local sport community, served on council, and was fully devoted to his family, especially his grandchildren. I extend heartfelt condolences to Mark's wife, Debbie, his family, and to the community of Whitefish River First Nation. Our thoughts are with you.
The Honourable Member for Drummond. Mr. Speaker, it's good news that there's money in the budget to support small festivals and community cultural events. But the problem is that there will soon be no one left to promote them if we let our news and regional media die out one by one. We've been talking about the crisis in the media for years. The Liberals had a great opportunity to solve the problem, but they completely ignored it in this big spending budget. That's why the Bloc Québécois is insisting that the profits from taxing the web giants be redirected to a new culture and news media fund. Because that's where you can find the creators of the content that's distributed on online platforms. That's where you find people whose futures are threatened because their work benefits foreign multinationals more than it benefits their own families. The Liberals deliberately left out media and content creators from the budget, but there are still ways that we can take action, and you can rest assured that the Bloc Québécois will not give up. Thank you.
The honourable member for Niagara Falls.
Mr. Speaker, as Canadians look ahead to rounding the corner on COVID-19, our country is at a crossroads. The future of Canada is at stake, and Canadians must choose which path to recovery they trust. The path of this Prime Minister's reimagined economy veers off into the unknown and saddles our children with debt levels and repayment obligations that will challenge their future for success. Canada's Conservatives are offering another path, one of security and certainty, through our 5-point Canada Recovery Plan. Our plan will secure our future and deliver us to a Canada where those who have struggled the most through this pandemic can get back to work. Canada's Conservatives got through the last recession, and with Canada's Recovery Plan, Canada's Conservatives will get Canadians through these challenging times as well. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Vimy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Budget 2021 offers a historic plan to fight the pandemic while creating jobs and building a stronger, greener, healthier, and more inclusive Canada. We've worked hard to ensure that local voices are heard in this budget, including voices of all Canadians and those in my riding of Vimy. We're extending the critical support programs that we put in place during the pandemic and ensuring that seniors can live with additional financial security. After 50 years of discussion, we're finally putting in place a national child care system to support working mothers. This time, we're going to get it right. Mr. Speaker, this is a budget with a plan to support all Canadians and to help our economy grow. Thank you.
Oral questions. Question orale, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the third wave of COVID-19 is ravaging Canada. We are in this situation because the federal government didn't secure enough supply of vaccines fast enough to prevent it. Today, the government of Manitoba had to secure help from North Dakota to vaccinate essential workers. How many Canadians will have to be vaccinated in the United States because of this Prime Minister's failure to secure vaccines?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's important in this House that we be grounded in facts. Our plan is working, and we're getting more vaccines than anticipated. We've now delivered over 13.3 million doses to provinces and territories, with more than 10 million doses of vaccine already having been administered. Thanks to the tireless work of officials to accelerate vaccine deliveries, we are now in the top 3 of G7 and G20 countries.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
His plan is working. Moderna delayed and doses reduced. AstraZeneca delayed and doses reduced. This morning, production of the J&J vaccine has been suspended at main facility. Supply shortages, Mr. Speaker, will only get worse as more Canadians become eligible for shots. Why did this Prime Minister fail to secure the required vaccines months ago?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives attempted to play politics with this, but the fact is we actually passed our target of 6 million doses by the end of March by over 50%. And we're now receiving over 1 million doses every single week, and we will continue to. 2 million doses in the month of May every week, and up to 48 million, more than 48 million doses by the end of June. Every Canadian who wants to be vaccinated will be fully vaccinated by September. Mr. Speaker, we are on track.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
We are in the third wave of this pandemic, so severe because of his failure, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister, to secure vaccines at a rate the United States was months ago. Exceeding targets by stealing vaccines from the developed world is shameful leadership by this Prime Minister. He announces future shots months from now, the same press conferences he announces delays for the next few weeks. The provinces are desperate for more vaccine supply. Where is it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we will be receiving more than 1 million vaccines every single week for the foreseeable future, with 2 million in the month of May, with tens of millions in the month of June. We will continue to deliver vaccines, but we know that as we continue to work, we need to make sure we're following public health guidelines and basing our decisions on science, which is something this government has always done. We will continue to work with provinces and territories, and Canadians will notice, even if Conservatives don't want to talk about it, we put forward a budget that gives so much help to Canadians that Conservatives don't even have any questions on it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I have a question, Mr. Speaker. The Finance Minister from Quebec is very disappointed by the lack of stable funding, predictable and unconditional funding for health care. No assistance for health in the budget in the middle of the third wave, Mr. Speaker. Why is the government spending on for elections and not on Canadians' health? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, that's completely false. And I note that in English, the Leader of the Opposition talked about the fact that we're spending too much on Canadians, and in French, he says, you need to spend more. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, that we transferred billions of dollars to the provinces and territories to help out in this pandemic with health care, and we are still doing that even with this budget, $4 billion more to the provinces. We will stay there. We will continue to be there to help the provinces and healthcare systems, and in the long term, yes, we will be increasing health transfers. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, that's not an answer in both official languages from the Prime Minister. This budget is a disappointment to many Canadians. The idea of increasing health transfers to the provinces was completely forgotten in this budget. There's no real action around vaccines. Does the Prime Minister think he knows what the provinces need better than they themselves? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, when the Leader of the Conservative Party talks about little programs to help lots of people, it's shameful, Mr. Speaker. For 1 year now, Mr. Speaker, we've been listening to Canadians and working with them on this pandemic. We've been helping small business, workers, families, seniors, young people. We've been there. We've had their backs. That's precisely what we're doing with this budget. And the Conservative Party says, oh, no. You shouldn't help people that much. You need to reduce the deficit. Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians will have a clear choice to make at some point. They can either adopt the Conservative vision or go along with our Liberal plan. But for now, we're going to get through this pandemic. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me know if I'm bothering them. But I'm afraid the Prime Minister is going to get in trouble. We've seen Quebecers discontent with the government, but never so discontent. The number of people who happen to be between 65 and 75 who are expressing their discontent with this budget and the discrimination, age-based discrimination based on the age of seniors, it's huge. Let's look at what might be good in the budget. Will the government accept our outreached hand and amend the budget for the benefit of seniors? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. In election 2019, we recognized and we understood how much support seniors needed. And we knew that those over 75 had higher costs, higher expenses, because as Canadians get older and older, they're concerned about their pensions and their retirement savings. So we made a promise to increase OAS by 10% for those 75 and older. That's precisely what we're delivering with this budget. It's good news for seniors, and it's good news for the country. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. That's perhaps not so good news for those who are only 65 and over, or 75 and over. They'll get a little bit more, but those between 65 and 75 are clearly being discriminated against in an unjustifiable manner. The idea that life is less expensive when you're under 75, where does that come from? Who made that up? Does the Prime Minister realize? Will the government accept our amendment to help seniors aged 65 to 75? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as a government, we have always been there for seniors. We always will be. One of the first things we did was increase the GIS after 2015 by 10%, and we will continue to be there for seniors, be it by investing in New Horizons and giving them more help during the pandemic, or now by increasing OAS by 10% for all seniors 75 and over. We will continue to be there with $3 billion to work with the provinces to protect seniors in long-term care as well. We will always be there for our seniors. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South. The pandemic has hit hard. People have lost their jobs. They're having a hard time making ends meet. A budget is a matter of making choices. The Prime Minister has chosen not to tax the ultra-rich and make them pay their fair share, and he has chosen to cut assistance to people during the third wave. Why has the government chosen to side with the ultra-rich instead of helping young people? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, that's quite simply false. One of the first things we did as a government in 2015 was to increase taxes on the wealthiest and lower taxes on the middle class. Unfortunately, the NDP voted against that. We will always keep looking for ways to help those in need. In this budget, we're ensuring that digital service providers pay their fair share of taxes. We have imposed a tax on luxury vehicles. We have aggressive tax avoidance. We're cracking down on that. We will always be there to support those in need in this country. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
The wave of COVID-19 is hitting Ontario hard. It is a disaster. ICU units are overrun. We're seeing healthcare workers on the brink, and the people who need the vaccine the most are the least likely to get vaccinated. And we've got a prime minister that continues to refuse to improve access to paid sick leave. So will the prime minister declare a public welfare emergency and use the Emergency Act to make sure people who need the vaccine actually get it and make sure we've got a paid sick leave that actually works?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, throughout this pandemic, we've continually been there to support provinces and territories, to support Canadians right across the country. We made a straightforward province that we would have people's backs. And that's exactly what we have done, what we will continue to do, working with partners right across the country, responding to that difficult situation that so many Canadians are facing with this third wave, particularly in the GTA. On the sickness benefit, we brought it in so no worker, regardless of where they live or who they work for, has to choose between going to work sick or putting food on the table. And we made 2 additional weeks available through this benefit as well. We will continue to support Canadians. We have your backs.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, yesterday's budget was truly an open bar. It would have been nice to see the same Liberal enthusiasm for camping reflected in other widespread. I have to interrupt the member. There was a lag. We didn't hear everything. I would ask the member to start his question over so we can all hear what he had to say. I'm sorry for interrupting. Mr. Speaker, yesterday's budget was truly an open bar. It would have been nice to see the same Liberal enthusiasm for camping reflected in other widespread problems like health. The provinces are calling for stable, predictable, and unconditional increases in healthcare transfers. We Conservatives support that. In the middle of a pandemic, it's just common sense. Why didn't the Prime Minister accept Quebec's main ask? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party needs to be clear with Canadians. They have to choose one tax policy. Listening today, the Conservatives appear to be saying we're spending too much. On another occasion, they say we're not spending enough for healthcare. What do the Conservatives actually think? The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, Quebec's reaction to the $3 billion over 5 years for long-term care was quite clear. First of all, that's not an unconditional health transfer. The Liberals, true to form, are encroaching on Quebec's jurisdiction. Secondly, it's such a pittance, it's not worth talking about. To quote the provincial finance minister, the federal government has missed a unique opportunity for a long-term health partnership. How do the Liberals plan to mend fences with Quebec? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the position of Quebec is clear, and we've had a good conversation with Quebec. It's the Conservative position that's unclear. Out of one side of their mouth, they're saying we're spending too much. Out of the other side, they're saying they're proposing many other expenditures. Canadians need to know, what is the Conservative position exactly? The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, a stable, predictable, unconditional increase in healthcare transfers was Quebec's main ask for this federal budget. We're in a global pandemic. The healthcare network is struggling. This ask wasn't just from Quebec. It came from all provinces and territories. A commitment to boost healthcare transfers has to be made now. How can the Prime Minister pass up this kind of chance? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the same question gets the same answer. It's the Conservatives who have to be clear with Canadians. Do they think we're spending too much? Or do they think we should be spending even more? Canadians are entitled to a clear and direct answer.
Calgary Nose Hill.
Congratulations to India for announcing all its adults will be eligible for a vaccine as of May 1st. While Canada's government has not domestically produced a single dose of COVID vaccine, India has been vaccinating its population with its own vaccines produced within their borders, while also manufacturing vaccines for Canada. Why didn't the Minister of Procurement secure a partnership with India, a large democracy and one of the largest vaccine-producing nations in the world, to develop and manufacture vaccines in Canada in early 2020?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. Mr. Speaker, we made historic investments in biomanufacturing in Canada. I'm sure the member will remember Medicago. She will remember Vido in Saskatchewan. She will remember Abcelera in Vancouver, Precision Nanosystem. In fact, Mr. Speaker, 12 days after the World Health Organization declared pandemic, we were already investing to 100 million. Within 30 days, we added another 600 million. So it's about $1 billion since the World Health Organization declared pandemic. Mr. Speaker, we made a historic investment, and we will continue to invest to ensure the safety of all Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Well, I'm sure the minister will remember that the federal Liberals didn't attempt to partner with India, but they did with the government of China. Last year, the federal Liberals negotiated vaccine development with a company owned by the Chinese government, with whom Canada has many high-profile ongoing concerns, who then unsurprisingly canceled the deal after stringing the federal Liberals along for months. So why did the federal Liberals engage in a doomed vaccine production deal with the government of China, as opposed to securing one with our allies in India, the largest democracy in the world?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the narrative that is being propagated on the other side of this House is patently false. We secured 7 bilateral APAs with leading manufacturers.
I'm going to interrupt the honourable minister. We seem to have had a little bit of a technical glitch. If I can get her to just start right from the beginning, and we'll just set back the clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The argument from the opposition in that question is patently false. We have 7 APAs with leading vaccine manufacturers, positioning Canada to be one of the leading procurement bodies and countries in the world. Let us just remember the facts, Mr. Speaker. 13.4 million doses distributed across this country already. 10.2 million Canadians have had at least 1 dose of vaccine. That's 24% of Canadians with 1 dose of vaccine. We are resting at number 2 in the G20 for doses administered per 100 people, Mr. Speaker. We will continue delivering for Canadians now and until all Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
The fact is that Canada has not produced a single domestically produced dose of vaccine. By now, we should be producing enough vaccine to supply our own populations like the Americans and Brits have. Instead, the federal Liberals have failed and put countries like India, who are facing a 3rd wave, in an impossible situation, sending a G7 country vaccines despite needing to vaccinate their own countrymen. The federal Liberals are also raiding vaccine supply meant for the developing world through COVAX. Imagine if we had had a manufacturing partnership with India. How many lives could have been saved if the Prime Minister had secured a domestic manufacturing partnership with India last year?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member. I would say, Mr. Speaker, just imagine that we have a partner to manufacture vaccine in Canada. It's called Novavax, Mr. Speaker, which has chosen Canada of all the jurisdictions where they operate. And more interesting, Mr. Speaker, we have also a domestic company called Medicago, in which we invested $173 million to make sure that we'd have a made in Canada vaccine, Mr. Speaker. And in addition to that, yesterday the Minister of Finance added another $2 billion to make sure that we'll continue to invest in manufacturing. We will continue to invest in the health and safety of all Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Joliette. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are some good things in the budget, but in the middle of a health crisis, you have to be pretty out of touch with reality to dig a $354 billion deficit without making a sustained increase to health transfers. For Quebecers, health is the priority. It's also the Government of Quebec's priority. Their only ask was for an increase in health transfers to cover 35% of health care costs. That's why the Bloc amended the budget by adding health transfers, because that's what Quebec wants. Will the Liberals support our amendment? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to hear that the member thinks there are some good things in the budget. When it comes to health, I agree that the priority for all Canadians is fighting COVID-19, and the federal government is there to support the provinces and territories in that fight. Last month, we added $5 billion to our support to the vaccine campaign and the healthcare system. The honourable member for Joliette. Well, that's far from the 35%. What you have to understand is that it's not a matter of money. Ottawa is banking on its ability to borrow. Despite their historic deficit, they're introducing $100 billion in new spending. So there should be some money for health. It was clearly a political choice not to invest in solving the problems the pandemic has laid bare. It was a choice not to invest in improving care for seniors. It was a choice not to invest in improving working conditions for health care workers. It was the wrong choice. The wrong choice. What's it going to take for the government to get it? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have invested heavily in healthcare and in biomanufacturing capacity in Canada. We've invested $5 billion in March. Last summer, we gave the provinces and territories $19 billion to support their fight against COVID-19. And as my colleague just said, in the budget, we've announced $2.2 billion for our capacity to manufacture vaccines domestically.
Well, 3 months ago, the Prime Minister gave the Finance Minister a mandate letter instructing her to do 3 things. First, avoid creating new permanent spending. Second, review Canada's debt management strategy. And third, present a new fiscal anchor. That is the standard the Prime Minister set himself. And yet this minister followed none of them. Her budget contains massive permanent spending, the debt is out of control, and her only fiscal anchor is a floating one. Why did the minister ignore these directives, and is she going to ignore future ones as well?
The Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our budget sets out a prudent and sustainable fiscal path, and we set out a clear fiscal anchor. We commit to a declining debt to GDP ratio and to unwinding the COVID deficits. And by 25-26, the debt to GDP ratio will be 49.2%, and the deficit will be 1.1%. Canada's debt to GDP ratio continues to be the lowest in the G7.
The Honourable Member for Abbotsford.
Well, Canadians expect their government to help them in their time of need, and we support those efforts. But the budget is also by far the biggest, most expensive in Canadian history. Our deficit has ballooned to a staggering $354 billion, and our national debt will soon reach an unimaginable $1.4 trillion. Yet the budget fails to present the debt management plan that the Prime Minister had told his Finance Minister to deliver. So why did the Minister disregard the Prime Minister's directive? And when will she deliver his debt management plan?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in Annex 2 of the budget, we present a very clear debt management strategy, and we point out that we have been carefully and thoughtfully pushing out the maturities of Canada's debt. They were 15% of our bonds were long bonds before the pandemic. Last year, we pushed that out to 29%, and in the budget, we commit to moving that to 42%. This is a prudent fiscal approach and will lock in today's low interest rates.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, 3 months ago, the Prime Minister sent new mandate letters to his ministers, and the letter to the Finance Minister said 3 things: to review the debt strategy, and in 3 months, the Minister has dismissed all 3 of those points, and this will be the biggest spending budget in Canadian history, with a multitude of new spending. This morning, our leader said that the Liberals seem to make it a point of honour not to talk about ever returning to balanced books. Why is that? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I have to point out to Canadians that our approach, our tax approach, is prudent and reasonable, our fiscal approach. In the budget, we have presented a plan to reduce federal debt as a proportion of GDP in the midterm and to eventually get rid of the COVID deficits. Canada's fiscal position is the best of the G7, I would remind everyone. The honourable member, Mr. Speaker, it's not complicated. Their target is what they're going to spend. That's their target in the budget, so that's easy to reach. We have to come up with a new term in this House, trillion. We don't talk about trillions very often, but the national debt is going to reach 1.4 trillion. I'd like to quote from someone who said that over time, living beyond your means is unsupportable. It's unsustainable. Does the finance minister agree with this? This was something that Mark Carney said, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, I'd like to ask the Conservative Party to be frank with Canadians, to come clean and tell us, is the Conservative Party the party of austerity, or does the Conservative Party, like they said at the beginning of question period, do they want us to spend even more, for example, on health? It's important to have a consistent approach. That's what Canadians are asking for, and that is what our government is presenting.
Westminster Burnaby.
Mr. Speaker, here are some numbers from the past year. $78 billion in increased wealth for Canada's billionaires. $42 billion in bank profits during a pandemic. $25 billion in tax dollars going to overseas tax havens. And here are some numbers from Budget 2021. $0 raised from a wealth tax. $0 raised from a pandemic profits tax.
I'm going to interrupt the honourable member. I'm sorry, we have technical difficulties today. I'm going to ask him to start his question right from scratch or right from the beginning. We'll set the clock back. The honourable member for New Westminster Burnaby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Here are some numbers from the past year. $78 billion in increased wealth from Canada's billionaires. $42 billion in bank profits during a pandemic. $25 billion in tax dollars going to overseas tax havens. And here are some numbers from Budget 2021. $0 raised from a wealth tax. $0 raised from a pandemic profits tax. $0 recouped now from overseas tax havens. If we are all in this together, why do Liberals always give a free ride to the ultra-rich?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government absolutely believes that everyone in Canada needs to pay their fair share. And that's why we have proposed a number of concrete measures in this budget. We are putting forward a luxury tax. We are putting forward a digital services tax. We are putting down unprecedented measures to crack down on tax evasion and aggressive tax planning schemes. And finally, we are putting forward a tax on non-vacant, non-resident property, because homes are for Canadian families to live in.
The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
Young people have been some of the hardest hit by this pandemic. The third wave will only make things worse. The budget is an utter disappointment to students and young people who have had to make fundamental shifts in their education, employment, and financial situations. The NDP is calling for a moratorium on student loan payments and putting an end to student loan interest permanently, so young people don't have to spend their years under crushing debt. Will the Prime Minister and this government commit to taking real action to help young people instead of these platitudes which do not go far enough?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have committed nearly $6 billion to support young Canadians in this budget. Those are not mere platitudes. We are going to support Canadian students. We are going to make an education more affordable. We're going to create 500,000 work experience and job training opportunities. And Mr. Speaker, early learning and childcare, which we will build, will help young Canadians first and foremost.
The Honourable Member for Mississauga, Erin Mills.
Mr. Speaker, the past year saw low-wage workers, youth, racialized Canadians, and women leave the workforce in disproportionate numbers. Businesses in my riding have been clear. A robust economy depends on increasing labor force participation, and Budget 2021 addresses this. Can the Minister of Middle Class Prosperity and Associate Minister of Finance update us on how this budget will make generational investments building a Canada-wide early learning and childcare system to get more people to work?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for Mississauga, Erin Mills, for her hard work and leadership. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2021 will ensure that families in Canada are no longer burdened by high child care costs, aiming for a 50% average fee reduction by the end of 2022 and reaching $10 per day on average by 2026. This budget will invest almost $30 billion working with provincial and territorial and Indigenous partners to support quality, not-for-profit childcare and ensuring the needs of early childhood educators are at the heart of the system. Mr. Speaker, we told Canadians we would do whatever it takes for as long as it takes, and that is what...
The Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the proceedings at Defence Committee are both reprehensible and unparliamentary. The Defence Committee chair has unlawfully used her authority to subvert the will of the committee and frustrate their ability to conduct the critical study into the allegations of sexual misconduct in the military. As a former officer, she swore to put service to country ahead of her own personal gain. Yet she has turned her back on women in uniform by preventing the committee's work. Will the member for Canada Carleton inform this House when she will urgently resume Defence Committee?
The Honourable Chair of the Committee, if she's on.
Mr. Chair, as
then
Vice
we'll
Chair.
go to the Vice Chair, the Honourable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Vice Chair of the Standing Committee on National Defence, I want to thank the member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill for her strong and sincere leadership on this file. I share her disgust with the contemptuous Liberal actions at and disgraceful obstruction of the Defence Committee. The member for Canada Carleton, in particular, is preventing us from investigating sexual misconduct in the Canadian Armed Forces. As committee chair, she is allowing Liberal members to block key witnesses from hearing and suspended the committee with no date or time for resuming debate. The member for Canada Carleton must immediately end the cover-up for the Prime Minister, which she's doing at the expense of our women and men in uniform.
The Honourable Member for Battle River, Crowfoot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A constituent shared this with me the other day. Quote, just one thing, get the vaccines rolling, please. I have a medical condition and 811 said it would be 16 weeks. Really, end quote. Constituents like this and millions of other Canadians are suffering from Liberal vaccine fumbles while they watch other jurisdictions safely and permanently reopen. Will the PM stop the spin and blame and just admit that he has failed Canadians?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I want to tell Canadians that when they needed PPE, we procured 7.2 billion items of PPE. When they needed rapid tests, we procured 40 million rapid tests. And the same is true with vaccines. We have procured vaccines by the millions. 48 to 50 million will be arriving by the end of June and 110 million by the end of September. We are sitting at number 2 in the G20 for doses administered, and we will continue to bring in vaccines for all Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Regina, Wascana.
Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 drive-through vaccine clinic in my home city of Regina had to shut down last weekend after it ran out of vaccine. The government of Saskatchewan announced that unless they receive an unscheduled delivery of vaccines soon, Regina's innovative and efficient drive-through clinic will remain closed until May 2nd. Why does this government continue to put thousands of lives at risk across Canada by not securing a reliable and steady supply of vaccines?
The Honourable Minister.
Reality is Mr. Speaker, the reality is that we're operating in a very, very competitive global environment. And notwithstanding that environment, we are continuing to bring vaccines into this country by the millions. 1 million vaccines of Pfizer per week in April, 2 million vaccines of Pfizer per week in May, and 2.5 million vaccines over 5 weeks in June. That's just from one supplier, Mr. Speaker. We also have AstraZeneca, we have J&J, and we have Moderna coming in to supplement our diversified portfolio of vaccines. And we will continue bringing vaccines in for all Canadians so that all Canadians have access to a vaccine.
The honourable member for Prince Albert.
Mr. Speaker, vaccine centres across Saskatchewan are closing due to lack of supply. Regina is closed until May. Saskatoon is closed right now, and pharmacies that are supposed to start delivering vaccines this week are now unable to do so. Saskatchewans are holding up their end of the bargain by lining up to get vaccinated because their lives and livelihoods are at stake. When will this Liberal government keep up their end by ensuring a reliable supply?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there is a reason why we are within the top 3 countries for vaccine administration in the G20. It's because our vaccines are continuing to come into the country by the millions. It's because of our diversified portfolio, and it's because we will be continuing to bring vaccines into the country for all Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we've accelerated 22 million doses of vaccine from later quarters to earlier quarters, and that will allow all Canadians to have access to a vaccine prior to the end of September. Mr. Speaker, that's our commitment, and we will stick to it. Thank you.
Honorable Député de Shefford.
The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, seniors see through the government's budget game. They're asking for a sustainable increase in their old age pensions starting at age 65. But what Ottawa is offering them is a one-time electioneering payment of $500 and only for those aged 75 and over. Seniors can see that the federal government is dividing them into 2 classes according to age and postponing pension increases indefinitely. That is why the Bloc is amending the budget to include an immediate increase in pensions starting at age 65. Will the government support our amendment out of respect for all seniors? The Honourable Deputy Minister. Mr. Speaker, with the members on the other side, we share their respect for seniors. We are aware of the reality that many seniors live in poverty, and that was the case when we came to power. We chose to target seniors 75 and up because their needs are the greatest. The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, seniors are not fooled. They can see that sending a one-time check this summer for $500 means the government is trying to buy votes instead of increasing pensions for all seniors. After all they went through during the pandemic, they thought that the federal government understood. They expected Ottawa to finally act on the loss of their purchasing power. They expected Ottawa to understand that they were the ones most affected by the pandemic. What they didn't expect was to be instrumentalized for the election. Why does the government insist on refusing to increase the pensions of those 65 and up? The Honourable Deputy Minister. Mr. Speaker, we understand very, very well seniors' needs, and we understand the tragedy that was COVID, and that is why the Canadian Armed Forces went to long-term care facilities. They went there to save seniors' lives. When it comes to old age security, this is a permanent increase for all seniors in Canada who are 75 and up.
New Brunswick Southwest.
Mr. Speaker, documents show the federal government is paying over $8 per dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. South Africa is paying $5.25, the U.S. $4, and the European Union only $2.15. Given our high price, you'd think Canada would have a vaccine delivery guarantee. Instead, pharmacies in my riding are struggling to confirm appointments for seniors because of inadequate supply from this federal government. But over in neighboring Maine, anyone 18 years and up can get vaccinated in a pharmacy today. Could the Prime Minister tell us when New Brunswick pharmacies will have enough vaccines to help as many families as in the state of Maine.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as the member opposite well knows, our vaccine contracts are confidential, but we must say that not breaching them is a priority, especially when every country is in a race for vaccines. Each country negotiates its own contract, and different components come in. AstraZeneca has said that its vaccines are sold at not-for-profit prices, and we negotiated in good faith with them. We are continuing to work to accelerate doses to Canada. We will not rest till this job is done. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, COVID hotspots, designated high-priority vaccination areas of Thornhill, Vaughan, and Markham in York Region, have for weeks now experienced a serious reduction in vaccine supplies. Clinics large and small have closed due to lack of supply. New eligible groups can't be accommodated. The region's unable to expand protection of residents and essential workers in manufacturing. In desperation, Ontario Premier Ford is now reaching out to the European Union, India, and the U.S. What's this Liberal government doing now to backfill its blundering, unsecured vaccine procurement?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate that the opposition refuses to acknowledge that vaccines are coming into our country by the millions, that we have 13.4 million doses distributed, that almost a quarter of all Canadians have received at least one dose, that we sit in the top 3 of G20 countries. Why, Mr. Speaker? Because we continue to bring vaccines into the country by the millions for the provinces, for the territories, and for all Canadians. This is a competitive environment, Mr. Speaker, and we will continue operating in it for all Canadians. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Essex.
Mr. Speaker, recently I spoke with the CBSA union president, and he advised me that 540 border agents and staff at the Windsor-Detroit border don't have access to vaccines. This jeopardizes the health of those frontline workers. Further, an outbreak could shut down the busiest border crossing in North America and threaten our already fragile supply chain. Another glaring example of the Liberals' failed vaccine program. When will the minister take action to provide vaccines to these essential workers?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I thank the member for the question because I share the concern that our border service officers, who I think have done an extraordinary job throughout this pandemic and are doing important work to keep Canadians safe, should be prioritized for vaccinations. Mr. Speaker, that's why we've reached out to the provincial health authorities in the provinces right across this country, and all of those provinces have responded. We've just heard quite recently that Ontario is beginning to prioritize those workers as well, and we're glad to see that step is now taking place, Mr. Speaker. Those people should be vaccinated. They do important work for Canadians, and we're glad that the province is doing the job of providing the vaccinations to them on the basis of a priority.
L'Honorable Député de Brome-Missisquoi.
The Honourable Member for Brome-Missisquoi. Mr. Speaker, in the spring of 2020, slaughterhouse processing has slowed considerably. This has forced farmers to keep their animals on the farm longer and also resulted in additional costs. Our government is committed to supporting the agricultural sector by helping to maintain and adapt agricultural risk management financial tools to deal with climate change and market conditions. Can the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food tell us what measures are in place to this effect in Quebec?
Le Ministre.
The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A few days ago, with the Minister of Agriculture for Quebec, I announced the Agri-Recovery Program to help to offer financial assistance to beef, pork, and big game sectors. $28.1 million will help, among other things, to offset the costs incurred by the temporary closure of certain slaughterhouses, ensure the well-being of animals, and preserve food security. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Public Safety has suggested that his ill-conceived firearms buyback program is going to cost between $300 and $400 million. He has suggested that they are expecting to buy back roughly 150 to 200,000 firearms. Many of the firearms that the Liberals arbitrarily selected for their ban were non-restricted, such as firearms typically used for hunting or around the farm. So what data was used by the minister to determine the cost and scope of his buyback?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we promised Canadians that we would strengthen gun control in order to keep Canadians safe. Well, the Conservatives have obviously promised the gun lobby that they'll weaken gun control, and that's why we brought forward measures last May, Mr. Speaker, to prohibit weapons that have no place in society. And we are working now with legislation now introduced through Bill C-21 to make sure that none of those weapons can ever be traded, sold, or used in Canada again. Mr. Speaker, those measures are necessary and strongly supported right across this country as the right thing to do to keep Canadians safe.
Honourable Member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Well, that's an answer to a question, but it wasn't an answer to my question, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, many experts anticipate that this buyback is going to be a multi-billion-dollar boondoggle that doesn't have any meaningful impact on public safety. We've seen this before from the Liberals. Unfortunately, for law-abiding firearms owners, this government cares about pushing their ideology and not about taking concrete steps to actually address public safety. So, Mr. Speaker, what data did the Liberal government rely on when determining how many individuals would likely participate in their buyback program?
Honourable Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for the question because it gives me an opportunity, first of all, to remind him that the majority of these weapons were in fact registered because they were restricted, but we know that many of them were not. And there is no gun registry in this country, and it's one of the reasons in the legislation we've brought forward, we'll require people who are in possession of these now prohibited weapons to register them properly so that we can have a precise calculation of where these guns are. But, Mr. Speaker, I think it's also equally important to acknowledge that these are weapons that are not used for hunting and sport purposes. They're used as tactical weapons to kill people, and that's why they have no place in our country, and we're removing them.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Manning.
Mr. Speaker, during a committee meeting of international trade, I was appalled to hear from our life sciences industry about the lack of consultation and coordination by this Liberal government. As the pandemic began and worsened, contracts were signed worth millions of dollars outside Canada while turning a blind eye to our local vaccine manufacturer. Mr. Speaker, will the government admit that they had ignored our local vaccine manufacturers? We have a shortage of vaccine supply, and as a result, we are now in this third wave. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. It's a member for whom I have enormous respect, Mr. Speaker. But what he said could not be further from the truth, Mr. Speaker. We indeed have invested more than $1 billion. And what we should celebrate today, Mr. Speaker, is in the budget that was presented yesterday by the Minister of Finance, as she just said, we are investing an additional $2.2 billion in biomanufacturing, Mr. Speaker. We know that there's a lot of talent in Canada, Mr. Speaker. We know that there's a lot of expertise in Canada, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to continue to invest in Made in Canada solution to protect the health and safety of Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Surrey Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we enter the second wave of the pandemic, tremendous advances have been made in the past 12 months with creation and distribution of vaccines. Our government has worked tirelessly to procure and distribute millions of doses of vaccines. In my home province of British Columbia, residents as young as 40 years old are eligible to book their appointments. Provinces across the country are also ramping up their vaccine rollout as we speak, and we are well on our way to getting vaccines into the arms of all Canadians who wish to receive one. Can the Minister please update the House on the percentage of Canadians who have received vaccines to date and progress of procurement for future shipments to ensure that healthcare systems across
the Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the member from Surrey Centre for the question. I am thrilled to say that just over 24% of Canadians have received at least one dose of vaccine. In a very competitive global environment where every country is struggling to receive the same product. We have accelerated the delivery of approximately 22 million vaccines to arrive in an earlier quarter. In the first quarter, we received 3.5 million more doses of vaccine than originally targeted. We are on track to receive nearly 50 million doses by the end of Q2, and we won't stop until all Canadians have access to vaccines. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday's budget was an opportunity to strengthen our healthcare system for people across the country. But the Liberals, once again, failed to deliver pharmacare for Canadians and ignored their own advisory committee recommendations and timelines. Their choice will continue to leave millions of Canadians without access to the life-saving medications they need. Liberals have been promising pharmacare for decades and breaking their promises for just as long. If a pandemic hasn't shown them the importance of national, universal public drug coverage, what will?
Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to continue working with provinces and territories towards the goal of a universal national pharmacare program. And to maintain momentum, we'll proceed with our plan to provide ongoing funding of $500 million for a program for high-cost drugs for rare diseases.
The Honourable Member for Don Valley East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers discussed the lack of adherence to public health guidelines at their facility in my riding and warned of an impending outbreak. Last Friday, I was notified that 9 workers tested positive, with 1 worker on a ventilator. This is a grave concern for workers across Canada. Could the Minister of Public Service and Procurement advise what actions are being taken to protect the frontline workers at the Canada Post facility in my riding and across Canada? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canada Post's top priority is keeping its employees and Canadian communities safe while continuing to deliver the services Canadians rely on. Canada Post is taking essential safety measures, such as providing hand sanitizer for all customers and requiring the use of face coverings by employees, contractors, customers, and visitors into Canada Post facilities. Canada Post is following the advice of the Public Health Agency of Canada and is providing rapid, voluntary on-site testing to all employees and contractors in facilities of concern. We'll continue to support the essential workers of Canada Post as they navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And that's all the time we have for questions today. C'est tout le temps que nous avons. But before
that's all the time we have.
Go on. I just want to point something out. I noticed the video feed was very choppy today, and this is personal experience. I'm not the IT person, but I do have a little bit of experience, it seems, after these last few months. I had a video conference this morning that was very choppy, and I was talking, and I could see my hands because of my background. I do speak with my hands a lot, but I could see them being delayed in on the screen. What I ended up doing is rebooting my computer, just restart, and it came back and there were some updates. It did take some time, and then the second meeting I had worked out very smoothly. I don't know if that will help you, but it helped me this morning. I just thought I'd share that, and I didn't say it at the beginning because I didn't want anybody shutting down during question period and missing this wonderful session we had. We have... I have a point of order. The Honourable Member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Thank you very much, Sir Speaker, and I'll just use my hand so that I can show myself as well. Mr. Speaker, I am rising today on a question of privilege concerning the premature disclosure of the contents of Bill C-288, an act to amend the Companies Creditors Arrangements Act. This bill is sponsored by the member for Sudbury. On Sunday, April the 18th of 2021, the Toronto Star posted an article entitled, Liberal MP's bill aims to keep turmoil at Laurentian University from happening at other schools. The member is quoted in the article Mr. Speaker, disclosing the contents of his bill. The problem, Mr. Speaker, is that the bill, which was on notice at the time the article was published, was not introduced until Monday, April the 19th of 2021. The article attributes several statements to the member for Sudbury, namely, I'm going to, and I quote, I'm going to add post-secondary institutions to the exemption for institutions that cannot avail themselves of CCAA protection. It's as simple as that.
I'm going to interrupt the honourable member just for a moment. I was talking about that choppiness. If she can just go back about 10 seconds and maybe just not start over, but just continue from about 10 seconds ago, please. Thank you.
No problem. So I'm going to quote, I'm going to add post-secondary institutions to the exemptions for institutions that cannot avail themselves of CCAA protection. It's as simple as that. The member stated, referring to the Companies Creditors Arrangement Act, which allows for court protection during financial restructuring. This includes additional financial support from CCAA lender in order to continue to operate as Laurentian implements its plans to position the university for long-term sustainability and a basis for recovering for its creditors and stakeholders. On March 10th of 2020, the Speaker ruled a prima facie case of privilege following the premature disclosure of the contents of Bill C-7, an act to amend the Criminal Code, Medical Assistance in Dying. The Speaker said, and I quote, based on a reading of the Canadian Press article on Bill C-7 on medical assistance in dying, and in the absence of any explanation to the contrary, I must conclude that the anonymous sources mentioned were well aware of our customs and practices and chose to ignore them. It seems clear to me that the content of this bill was disclosed prematurely while it was on notice and before it was introduced in the House. The rule on the confidentiality of bills on notice exists to ensure that members in their role as legislators are the first to know their content when they are introduced. Although it is completely legitimate to carry out consultations when developing a bill, or to announce one's intentions to introduce a bill by referring to it as public title available on the notice paper and order paper, it is forbidden to reveal specific measures contained in a bill at the time it is put on notice. On April 19th of 2016, the Speaker, in finding a prima facie case of privilege regarding the premature disclosure of contents of Bill C-14, an act to amend the Criminal Code and to make related amendments to other acts, medical assistance in dying, stated, and I quote, as honourable members know, one of the most important responsibilities as Speaker is to safeguard the rights and privileges of members, individually and collectively. Central to the matter before us today is the fact that due to its preeminent role in the legislative process, the House cannot allow precise legislative information to be distributed to others before it has been made accessible to all members. Previous Speakers have regularly upheld not only this fundamental right, but also expectation of the House. Another question of privilege was raised on March the 19th, 2001, regarding a similar matter where Speaker Milliken on page 1840 of the House of Commons debates supported this principle and said, in preparing legislation, the government may wish to hold extensive consultations, and such consultations may be held entirely at the government's discretion. However, with respect to the material to be placed before Parliament, the House must take precedence. Once a bill has been placed on notice, whether it has been presented in a different form to a different session of Parliament has no bearing, and the bill is considered a new matter. The convention of the confidentiality of bills on notice is necessary, not only so that members themselves may be well informed, but also because of the preeminent role which the House plays and must play in the legislative affairs of the nation. And there was another case of contempt, Mr. Speaker, on October 15, 2001, where the Department of Justice briefed the media on the contents of a bill prior to the legislation being introduced in the House. Given the contents of the article and in being published before Bill C-288, an act to amend the Companies Creditors Arrangement Act, was introduced in the House, I ask that you find a prima facie case of privilege, and I'm prepared to move the appropriate motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. I want to thank the honourable member for her point of order, and I will take it under consideration and return with a ruling. The honourable member for Kingston and the Islands has a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Before ruling on this, I would ask that you just provide perhaps a little bit of time just so that we could come back to the House and provide some feedback on it as well. We'll do that as soon as possible, if that's okay.
And we have the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader is rising on a point of order.
Yes, it's to the same point of order, Mr. Speaker, and my colleague indicated that we'll get back to the House. I just wanted to indicate to the Speaker's office, I think at times I have had discussions in the past where I think that there's a general lack of knowledge in regards to private members' bills and the need to keep them secret until they're actually tabled. I would be very surprised if this situation is unique, and it might be worth the Speaker's office to invest a little bit of time in terms of just looking in terms of how it is members in particular that are introducing private members' bills are informed of their responsibilities. In other words, I think it might be done accidentally, and it might have actually happened on several occasions. It'd be worthwhile in terms of looking into it.
I want to thank the honourable member for his input. Nous avons un autre.
We have another point of order.
Le député de...
The honourable member for Trois-Rivières on a point of order. Simply to say, Mr. Speaker, that there is no more French interpretation, Mr. Speaker, since the preceding intervention. Thank you. I don't think it's the interpretation, or rather, it is the interpretation, but there are technical problems that could explain it. It's with the transmission, the broadcasting, more than anything else. And so, as I said earlier, I might recommend to all members that they should reboot their computer, restart it, so that there are updates that may need to be installed. Thank you to my colleague for having helped me out there. Thank you. And so those are updates that were part of the problem this morning when I had a meeting and it wasn't working very well because it was extremely choppy. It was cutting in and out. And once I rebooted and installed the updates, everything was perfect. So I hope that that's the problem. But I had a good experience with it, so perhaps MPs could try that. Thank you.
Okay, now I'll speak in English to see if the translation is going through. Is that working? Not seeing anyone say anything. I'm assuming everything. No, the translation is not coming across. Okay, puis il n'y a pas de problème de démarrage de...
And there's no problem with the reboot this time. So we're just going to check in with our technicians to see what's happening with the interpretation. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, we'll try again in English. Is that getting any better? The honourable member for Trois-Rivières doesn't hear me. Alors, un moment, s'il vous plaît, on va essayer.
Just a moment, please. We're going to see what we can do. Thank you.
On va essayer. Hear me in one of the official languages. No, only in the one that I'm speaking. Okay, merci. On va essayer voir maintenant.
Thank you. We're going to try again and see what we can do. Thank you.
On va essayer une autre fois.
We're going to try again.
In French. Non, OK, non, on continue de ne pas avoir la traduction, même sur le plancher. OK, la traduction n'existe pas alors. Alors, on va attendre.
Translation is not working into French, so we're going to try again to see what's happening. But nothing's confirmed yet. We'll keep you posted. Thank you.
On va continuer.
We're going to continue to try again.
Non, OK. De l'anglais au français. Validé, est-ce que...
I just want to check. Can everyone in the House hear me on the English interpretation channel?
French. You're not hearing me in French. Okay, very good. It's I believe so. Okay, you know what? I'm going to let you come up.
So, shall we try again? Can you now hear me in French? Yay! La voix magique!
I guess it was my magic voice.
Grand merci.
Many thanks to the technicians.
So resuming debate, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to advise the House that I'll be sharing my time with the member from Parkdale and High Park. So as the Member of Parliament for Saginaw Preston Chesapeake, it gives me a great pleasure to speak on Budget 2021. We know this budget, Madam Speaker, is focused on finishing the fight with COVID. It's also focused on creating jobs and building back better. But we have to understand that COVID was affected people differently. It was disproportionately affected low-income workers, young people, women, racialized Canadian, certain business sectors, and those were kept in mind as we were framing up budget